We'll call this meeting of the Common Council to order. Roll call, please.
Alderman Kraus.
Yep.
Roth.
Here.
Beyer.
Here.
Ritchie.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Randall.
Here.
Lars.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Thank you. At this time, we'll entertain public participation. Anyone wishing to address the council may do so. We ask that you do so from the podium and state your name and address for the record. Being no one, I'm going to come down in front here. I'm going to ask Alderman Roth to join us, and Lieutenant Lutz, and honored guest, retired police chief Gary Bleeker. Please come forward, Jerry. Gary. Jerry.
See how quickly they forget?
Is that short for geriatric?
Done for us lately. Is a nice shirt.
Ooh, and it's short sleeve too.
Hi, Gary. Nice to meet you.
Oh boy.
Yeah, come on over here. Okay, I'll lead this off, and then I'm going to turn it over to John and then to Dale. This is a mayoral proclamation to honor Gary for his years of service. And it begins, whereas Gary Edward Bleeker began his service to the city of Jefferson in 1983 as a part-time police officer, was promoted to full-time police officer in 1985, was promoted to detective of police in 1990, and was appointed chief of police in 2005. And whereas municipal government, in order to best serve the needs of the residents, must operate efficiently and in an orderly and trustworthy manner. And whereas the community relies on the chief of police to lead the police department in their efforts to preserve and secure our community. And whereas during his long and distinguished career in public service, including being named Police Officer of the Year in 1991, Gary has earned the respect and admiration of his department, co-workers, elected officials, and the residents of the community. And whereas Gary has announced his plan and has retired on January 2nd, 2015, and whereas we extend to Gary our deepest appreciation of his years of dedicated service and wish him and his spouse Renee a long and happy retirement. And now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and the city council of the city of Jefferson that we commend Gary on his achievements and his dedication to the Jefferson community, and we wish him well in his retirement. We furthermore express our sincere appreciation, as well as that of our citizens, for his distinguished service to the city of Jefferson. Gary, thank you.
Well, I'm up here tonight just to tell Chief Bleeker thank you for the years of service. We got him a plaque with his badge on that he wore. We bought him a new badge, but he didn't want it on here. He wanted his old one that was marred up, showed that he actually was out there working. So it says, presented to Gary Bleeker in appreciation of your dedicated service to the Jefferson Police Department, June 7th, 1985, January 2nd, 2015. 18 and a half years ago, I walked into the department as a new officer. Gary called me in his office and said, Dale, you need to sit down, I want to talk to you. And he explained to me that in no uncertain terms, the citizens pay my wages, and that I should be fair to everybody, get out there and do my job the way it's supposed to. And Gary was a detective at the time, and it meant a lot to me that he would do that. 10 years later, we had our squad meeting. It was his first meeting with all the troops and staff as chief, and he walked in and he said, accountability. He said, accountability is what I'm going to hold everybody to. Accountability is what I expect out of every officer and all my staff. And I think after 10 years, we've accomplished that. We did what was asked of him. He will be missed deeply by all personnel. Our new chief, Chief Ken, has stepped in, and it's been absolutely no problem with Chief taking over. But Gary will be missed by all, especially by me. So here you go. Chief, we're going to miss you. He's retiring. He's finally going to go out, and somebody told me they need a new club, so he's getting a gift certificate, Golf Galaxy, and a card from all the employees of the police department. So make sure you hit him straight. All right.
I'd like to just say a few words about Gary's career. Thank him as a citizen and as a council member for his 31 and a half years that he has served this community. And he did it with pride. And I think what separated Gary from other police officers is that he was always fair. He would treat everybody the same way. If you had a suit or tie on, or if you had bib overalls on, Gary was willing to talk to you and say, hey, listen to him. And I think because of his hometown values and his family values, I think it carried over to his career. And when people talk to him, he earned their respect. And I think that's a huge thing. Is he earned their respect because he respected people. And I've always given him credit for that. And I watched him come through the ranks as a patrol officer and a detective and a police chief. And I watched how he carried himself with such confidence and ambition. And that's why he got to where he's at. And thanks, Gary.
Welcome. Well, I kind of want to do this a little differently because, not that I want to make sure I don't talk to the public, but first of all, I want to thank the council. It's been a good ride for me. I've lived here all my life, and a lot of times people would say, you know, isn't it hard to be a police officer in the city that you grew up and that you've lived all your life? It's easy to be a police officer here. And it's just like my good friend John, and John is my best friend, so it's nice that I have somebody that gets up there and says them good things for me. But, you know, you have to treat people the way you want to be treated, and that was my philosophy all through life. Philosophy with the officers. I'd always bring my new officers in and tell them, there's a fishbowl there, and we can watch that fish all day long, and that's what happens to you. And that's what people do to police officers. They watch that fish go around. And when I became police chief, I had to do things a little differently than I normally did before. And I love the city of Jefferson. I'm glad I took up a career as being a police officer here because I really did appreciate working for the citizens of Jefferson. I almost made a mistake in my life when I went to be chief here in the city of Jefferson. I was hired as the chief. The next day, actually it was 2 days later, I called the council president and the mayor and told them that I wanted to resign. I wanted to resign because the council, there was a couple people on the council that some situations happened in 2 days that I didn't really approve of. They sat me down and said, Gary, here's the deal, is you're going to have good councils and you're going to have bad councils. You're going to be here and they're not. You got to live through those days. And I did, and I'm glad I did. But I can tell you something right now to all the council members here, it's been a pleasure working with each and every one of you. It's easy to do my job when we have people like you that you bring things forward and you say, no, I understand why. You give a reason why. But a lot of times it was yes, and the reason was because you wanted to take care of the citizens of Jefferson. I understood that, and you understood that. It's also easy to do my job when you have a mayor like Mayor Opperman. He's always been backing of the police department and all other departments in the city of Jefferson. Dale was on the council through many years when I was the police chief, and he knows exactly what I'm talking about is when I was going to resign, because there was not good things going on at that time in the city of Jefferson, and you took care of that by running for the office you're in. The men and women of the city of Jefferson Police Department really have done a great job, and they do to this day. They respect the citizens of Jefferson. They do the best job they can with what they have, in which I'm not saying they don't have what they need, but they're great people, and they're the ones that make me look good, and I thank them for that. The other city departments in the city of Jefferson, good people to work with. I had told somebody at my party the other night, I can't think of anyone that I've had a cross word with or anyone that I dislike in the city of Jefferson. And that's amazing after 33 years. It really is. And that says a lot about the employees and the people of the city of Jefferson. The last person, our city administrator, Tim Freitag, actually not the last, but the last person as far as the city's concerned. It's been a pleasure working with you. I've known Tim a little bit prior to him coming to Jefferson. We played sports against each other, but he's always been a person that I could bring my issues, my problems to. We'd sit down and we would talk about it, and I can't say enough and thank you very much for not only being my boss, but being a friend of mine. I really appreciate that. I'm surely gonna miss you, that's for sure, and I couldn't ask for a better boss than you, and that's the truth. To my wife and my son Josh, my daughter Nicole couldn't make it. I want to say thank you. My wife constantly getting up in the middle of the night when I was a detective and rolling over and saying, now what, and what's going on, and them clothes smell when I come home because of what I had to do, and I love you very much, and thank you for the support all these years. And Josh, it's really difficult to grow up and have your dad being a police officer and then a police chief. So I understand it's a different way of life, and I love you guys very much for all the support you've given me. And to the public and the people of Jefferson, and to everyone here, just treat people the way you want to be treated, and you'll be just fine in life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary. It's a tough act to follow.
Sure is.
I'm going to just transition here, and I'm going to share something with the council that we got an email this past week from Alan Ryan, the owner of Cool Tools, and they are in their building, and they will be celebrating their new facility on Wednesday, January 21st. That's Wednesday, right? From 3 to 5 p.m., there will be a ribbon cutting and an open house. So I would think that the ribbon cutting is going to be probably closer to 3 p.m., and all the council members are invited to attend. And with that, we'll move on to mayoral appointments. I would look for approval from the council of appointments of Mr. David Knutson to the Housing Authority and Mr. Daniel Griffith to the Library Board, and I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion? There being none, on a voice vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to proposed ordinance number 18-14, an ordinance to amend section 265-4 of the municipal code to create a licensed cab parking only designation. Alderman Wolf, please.
Thank you, Mayor Opperman, fellow council members, citizens of Jefferson. City of Jefferson ordinance number 18-14, an ordinance to amend section 265-4 of the municipal code of the City of Jefferson to create a licensed cab parking only designation. Section 1. Section 265-4, Parent 1, or I guess that's Parent I, licensed cab parking only. No person/vehicle shall park at locations clearly marked, signed for cab parking only. The following locations shall be designated licensed cab parking only. The northmost stall on the eastern side of the South Main Street, abutting Milwaukee Street directly adjacent to 206 South Main Street. Section 2. Any person violating said licensed cab parking ordinance restriction shall be subject to the parking forfeitures specified in the municipal code for violation of 2-hour parking restrictions. Section 3. This ordinance shall take effect after passage, publication, and annexation as required by law. I so move.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Kraus. Discussion?
I would want us to keep an open mind for the businesses there that we might want to move it at a later date in case it doesn't work for those businesses at that location.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? There being none, all in favor of approval, please signify by saying aye as the clerk calls your name. No if you're opposed.
Ruth.
Aye.
Meyer.
Aye.
Peachy.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Lars.
Aye.
Horn.
Aye.
Kraus.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you. Proposed ordinance number 20-14, an ordinance to amend and replace Chapter 286 of the City of Jefferson Municipal Code concerning the floodplain ordinance. Council President Brandel, please.
Honorable Mayor Opperman, fellow council members, citizens of Jefferson. City of Jefferson proposed ordinance 20-14, an ordinance to amend and replace Chapter 286 of the City Code concerning the floodplain ordinance. I know you'd like me to read this whole thing, but due to the extreme length of the proposed ordinance, which updates our floodplain ordinance, a complete copy is and has been on file in the office of the Jefferson City Clerk and is available for public inspection. As this is the second reading of proposed ordinance 20-14, I move for its passage.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Miller. Discussion. Maybe I'm going to call on Greg, if you could address this and summarize this for us, please, Greg.
Like I discussed last meeting, this is essentially an update of the most recent floodplain ordinances as provided by the DNR, essentially as directed by FEMA. Along with this code update, really what drove it was we got new maps. They had studied the flood basin, the Rock River Basin, all the way up from the Horicon, all the way down to Janesville, and after they got done with that, came up with new maps, and this has been about a four-year process in the making. So this is the culmination of the maps. Really, nothing changed other than what we saw in '08. If you were around, the maps really reflect where the water came, so it shouldn't come to much surprise as to where the maps are. It was obviously a little bit of a raise in some locations, but like I said, nothing that should really surprise anybody who owned property in that area in '08. So this, albeit it is an increase, it really is part of our requirement as a community to stay consistent in the National Flood Insurance Program, which allows our community to get a discounted rate on flood insurance. So in some instances, as it may be painful, it's really necessary evil to stay consistent with the most up-to-date requirements.
Okay, thank you. Greg, does anyone have any questions of Greg?
Are these changes usually generated by floods like we had in '08?
In my experience, I mean, I've been doing this for a little over 10 years now. We had just done this prior to the flood of '08. We had just finished a study, had just adopted new ordinances and new maps. After the flood of '08 came, FEMA kind of said specifically to the Rock River Basin, you need to study this. What happened? How come the flooding was so bad? Has the channel changed since the last time we had done mapping? And so this was very specific in reaction to the flood that did happen. If we got flooded again, I would doubt we would see this again. This is the most up-to-date information that we've had since probably the mid-'80s. So I wouldn't venture to guess that we'd be doing mapping again unless there was some other changes. Ordinance-wise, we'll probably be here doing this again in a year or two when they do some minor modifications or updates. We'll get the most up-to-date version so we stay in step with FEMA and what they'd like to have so we can stay on good standing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Any other questions or comments? There being none, all in favor of approval of proposed ordinance number 20-14, please signify by saying aye as the clerk calls your name. No if you're opposed.
Meyer.
Aye.
Peachy.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Lars.
Aye.
Horn.
Aye.
Kraus.
Aye.
Ruth.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to welcome Jay Thompson from Vogel Brothers. They are the construction manager for our EMS facility, and Jay's going to give us an update on the progress.
Hello.
Hi.
Tim invited me. He said this was a roast for Chief Bleecker. He didn't tell me I was supposed to update, so. I had a couple stories here about Chief Bleecker I was going to share, but I'll skip those and I'll just give you an update. Last time I was here, I believe it was in August, so a little different weather outside. What I'd like to do is just give you an overview of what's happened on site so far, what's going to be happening over the next month or 2 months, and then talk through where project costs and budget are at, and then answer any questions. So from a schedule perspective, we finally did break ground late September, and really September and October, a little bit into November, was primarily building excavation, pouring the concrete foundation for the new building, and then backfilling that with some site utility work and other grading work that happened on site. The first activity obviously was tearing down of the existing old Red Owl building that was there. November into December, it was pretty slow on site as we were waiting for the pre-engineered metal building to deliver. That delivery did happen December 16th. And as anybody that's seen over the last couple weeks, a lot of steel went up pretty fast. We were really pushing on the steel erection to get that up as fast as we could. With the weather being what it was late December, we wanted to really take advantage. Then we sit here today with the weather being what it is this week. There were guys on site today. Our anticipation is hopefully Thursday and Friday. Tomorrow doesn't look very good as far as getting any work done. That's going to be the biggest challenge that we face schedule-wise moving forward, would be just weather over the next couple weeks. As far as milestone dates go, really our goal is to have that building enclosed, which means all the wall panels up and the roof up by the end of the month. So really by Super Bowl Sunday, drive by before the Packers game and make sure that there's a roof and walls on it. You know, the apparatus bay does have a lot of overhead doors, so that whole side really won't have much for wall panels up, but the rest of the building should. We're going to pour the slab on grade early February. And then after that, a lot of the framing and finishes, and that's when a lot of the trades will really be on site. So far to date, there's been 1 or 2 trades at a time, but not very many trades on site, so not a lot of people on site. Once that slab gets poured in February, then there will be multiple trades on site. Middle of March, we'll be looking to start painting, and then a lot of the other finishes will happen in April. Right now, we're targeting a May 8th completion date. Now that date, hopefully we have the asphalt paved by then, so all the parking lot done. But asphalt plants open up as early as mid-April and sometimes as late May, just depending on weather. We have talked with Greg. We do have a plan in place to open the building if we can't get it paved, by getting the handicap stalls installed and leaving it gravel until we can get paved but still open the building. So as far as schedule goes, that's where we sit. And any questions related to that?
I think, Jay, one thing I don't think a lot of folks know is that our project included putting in a fire suppression system in the fire department.
Oh, yep.
Has that been completed?
Yeah, so all the piping has been completed in the apparatus portion of the existing fire station. The conference room area and the office area, it has not been completed yet. That will be roll back in like February 2nd is when we're anticipating that work to start. We've been working with Ron as far as displacing staff in there and getting a block of time of when we can get in that training or conference area and not disrupt as.
And then I wanted to ask financially, I think the last time we talked, it sure looked like the project was tracking within budget.
Yeah, that's where I'm going to go
Okay,
next.
sorry.
I just wanted to schedule questions and then I can go to financials.
Sorry.
Okay, so we'll jump right into that. So, you know, as Tim alluded to, you know, the project target budget is $2,065,000 or $2,065,000. As Tim alluded to, we're tracking right on that. From a cost perspective, one of your biggest risks was anything below grade, so the digging and all the earthwork and the existing utilities. We are past that risk now as we've got the entire building backfilled and all the utilities in. Project contingency still sits fairly strong. On a monthly basis, I sit down with Bill and Ron and review a projection really of all the subcontracts and all the different project costs. We did that right before Christmas, and everything's looking really strong from a project budget standpoint still as well. One project risk that's still out there from a cost perspective is tying into the existing fire station. At the roof level, there's flashing that we tie in. There's a couple areas where we are knocking holes in that wall to provide access between the two spaces. Not too major of a risk, but there could be some unknowns in that wall and what the existing structure is there. We've already reviewed a couple things with windows and everything like that. So I don't see any major items coming out of that, but that is one risk that does remain from a cost perspective there. But if we can, looks like next week's going to be in the 20s, which I'm crossing my fingers for. We should be in really good shape to get this thing enclosed for sure by the end of the month.
Thank you very much, Jay.
All right.
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks, Jay.
Okay, at this time, we'll call upon City Engineer Bill Pino for an update on the Center Avenue Street project.
All right, I just wanted to provide a quick update. 2015, our major capital project is Center Street. As you know, we have retained the services of Ruckert and Melke for the design. In December, we completed those design documents and specifications. I've got a map outlining the project. As you can see, it includes portions of Dane and then Center Street from Dane up to Washington. The project scope includes pavement reconstruction, widening of Center Street by 4 feet on each side. So it'll actually go from 40-foot face of curb to 48-foot face of curb. Replacement of water main, sanitary sewer, and we're going to add a 38 by 60 storm sewer and a new outfall to the Rock River. That project is currently out to bid. We advertised it on December 30th, and we have a bid opening on February 5th. We expect to be able to review bids and bring the recommendation back to the council at the February 17th meeting. Currently, our last engineering estimate was about $1.2 million, which is consistent with the capital planning. During the project, we're expecting a start of approximately April 15th, which will be dependent on weather, roughly a 90-day project estimate, so or duration. So we're looking at somewhere April 15th to July 31st, somewhere in there. We will have traffic detours during the project. Portions of Dane will be closed. While that will be closed, will be rerouted along Washington and Whitewater. Currently, if there is people or if there is contractors looking for the bid, we have them. We advertise it in the Daily Union on December 31st. We'll be doing that again January 21st and January 28th. We also have bids available online with BPI Inc. As far as project, actually, if there's any other questions, you guys can just fire away. But I believe we've talked about this at length. Everyone knows the need for Center Street, and I think there is a lot of excitement about having that project completed.
Thank you, Bill. Anyone have any questions? Appreciate the update. Next, we'll move on to resolution number 92, the consent agenda. Alderwoman Byer, please.
Honorable Mayor, council members, and citizens, City of Jefferson Resolution Number 92. Be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Jefferson, Wisconsin, that the consent agenda for January 6, 2015 is hereby adopted. The consent agenda for tonight includes vouchers payable for December 2014 in the amounts of $163,244 and January 2015 in the amounts of $46,872. Payroll summary for December 25th, 2014 in the amount of $157,194. Council minutes from December 16th, 2014 meetings of the Common Council. Licenses as approved by the Regulatory Committee. We had one operator's license for Heather Wright for Rock Bottom, and we had one beer and wine license for the Business Center for the Democratic Party on February 15th, 2015. I would so move.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Second by Alderman Roth. Any additions or corrections? There being none, all in favor of approval of the resolution number 92, please signify by saying aye as Rita calls your name. No if you're opposed.
Peachy?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Crandall?
Aye.
Lars?
Aye.
Horn?
Aye.
Gross?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
Byer.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you. Resolution number 93, a resolution authorizing the write-off of delinquent personal property bills. Alderman Peachy, please.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor Upperman, fellow council members, citizens of Jefferson. City of Jefferson, Resolution Number 93. Be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Jefferson that the city administrator is hereby authorized to delete the following personal property bills from the accounts receivable. This is for the year 2013. The total is $4,004.14. And the complete text of this resolution is on copy of the city clerk and is available for public inspection. I would so move.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Brandel. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye as Rita calls your name. No if you're opposed.
Miller?
Aye.
Randall?
Aye.
Lars?
Aye.
Horn?
Aye.
Kraus?
Aye.
Roth?
Aye.
Meyer?
Aye.
Peachy?
Aye.
And that is unanimous. Thank you. Resolution number 94, a resolution authorizing the hire of Town and Country Engineering Incorporated for design services for North Dewey Avenue. Alderman Brandel, please.
Honorable Mayor Opperman, fellow council members, citizens of Jefferson. City of Jefferson Resolution Number 94, authorizing the hiring of Town and Country Engineering Incorporated for design services for North Dewey Avenue. Whereas the City of Jefferson Committee of the Whole has recommended proceeding with preliminary design for improvements to North Dewey Avenue for future construction, and whereas Town and Country Engineering Incorporated has provided a proposal to provide field surveying, establishment of rough street grades, preparation of preliminary street layout, and profiles, preliminary design of sanitary, storm, and water utilities, and evaluation of existing and needed right-of-way, and whereas the city engineer recommends the hiring of Town and Country Engineering Incorporated. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Jefferson, Wisconsin, that it herein authorizes the city administrator to hire Town and Country Engineering Incorporated for a fee not to exceed $48,500. I so move.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Kraus. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor of approval of resolution number 94, please signify by saying aye as the clerk calls your name. No if you're opposed.
Randall?
Aye.
Lars?
Aye.
Horn?
Aye.
Kraus?
Aye.
Roth?
Aye.
Meyer?
Aye.
Peachy?
Aye.
Miller?
It's unanimous. This time I'll entertain a motion to adjourn to closed session pursuant to section 19.851, parent C of the Wisconsin State Statutes to discuss considering employment, promotion, compensation, performance, or evaluating data of any public employee over which governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility with regard to the city administrator's annual performance evaluation.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Brandel, second by Alderman Peachy. All in favor signify by saying aye as the clerk calls your name.
Lars?
Aye.
Horn?
Aye.
Kraus?
Aye.
Roth?
Aye.
Meyer?
Aye.
Peachy?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Randall?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.